Welcome to the Leadership with Biana Kovic Show, and thank you for being with us. Our topic, leadership, focuses on leaders such as yourselves. We believe that leadership is a skill that can be learned through practice and awareness. It is our hope that our conversation will help you become more reflective when it comes to your own leadership practices and enable you to leave a positive legacy. Our very special guest is Carrigan. Catherine is a medical intuitive healer, author of 9 books, and a host of the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. She's also the president of Unlimited Energy Inc. Catherine's book, Unlimited Intuition Now, explains the 4 kinds of intuition and how you can recognize your soul guidance. Catherine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Biana, for having me, and thank you everyone out there for listening.
Catherine, I am very excited to have you on my show. You are a medical intuitive healer. You're also author of 9 books available on Amazon, and also a host of a natural healing show for UK Health Radio, and a president of Unlimited Energy Inc. And I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
First of all, Biana, thank you so much. And I know that a lot of the people who are listening are leaders and entrepreneurs. And I am an entrepreneur myself. I've had my own business now for 26 years. I absolutely love what I do. And I know today we're talking about intuition and leadership. So I want to go just right into it. So first of all, you have a mind, but in addition to your mind, you also have a soul. And we receive information through our mind by reading, by learning, by traditional education, and by mentoring. On a soul level, we receive information through what's commonly known as our intuition. Now, there are 4 different kinds of intuition, and I discuss them in one of my 9 books called Unlimited Intuition Now. And I believe that if you are a leader, it's really important to understand how your soul communicates to you. Now, why is it so important that you understand how your intuitive gifts work? So first of all, when you understand how your intuition works, you're not going to sit there and second guess yourself, because you're going to understand the difference between your ego and your training and your education and your soul communicating to you. So let's go over now the 4 different kinds of intuition. The first kind of intuition is claircognizance, which is psychic knowing. That happens to be my gift. And I'm at the point where I'm a professional intuitive. People come to me to help them understand why they're not healthy and what they can do to move ahead in their lives. I help people to be incredibly healthy, incredibly happy. So claircognizance. That is psychic knowing. When claircognizance is your gift, you receive information very, very quickly. If the information you receive takes you longer than 30 seconds to get it, it's your ego mind and not your soul guidance. And a lot of times when you're receiving information this way, there's no supporting information. So there's no evidence to back you up. You just know what you need to know. I'm going to give an example of this. I was in London in 2005, and it was the summer. I was over there, I was working, and a colleague had set up appointments for 10 different of his clients to see me on a Thursday afternoon. So I was scheduled to go into the central London on a Thursday morning. However, on that Monday, I felt a huge wave of incoming negativity. I didn't know what it was. And then the day before, on a Wednesday, I called my colleague and I apologized. I said, I'm very, very sorry, but I can't come. So needless to say, my name was mud until Thursday morning when terrorists blew up the subway. And I believe over 50 people were killed. Now, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew that I shouldn't be on the underground. So a lot of times when you're receiving information as a leader in this manner through your claircognizance, again, there's no supporting evidence. If anybody had known, the whole ending would have been very different for many people. The second gift is clairaudience. When you receive information through clairaudience, you receive information in the form of words, sound, and vibration. Many people who are excellent public speakers are high in clairaudience. And I like the gift of clairaudience because you literally hear the guidance. All the gifts, by the way, have upsides and downsides. And one of the downsides of clairaudience is that it's very easy to confuse the soul guidance that you receive with your own thoughts, because you'll hear things without being actually crazy. So when you're high in clairaudience, you can simply get up in front of a group of people, open your mouth, know exactly what to say, how to say it, and use the right tone of voice in order to communicate with the people that you're working with. Now, the third gift is one of the most common gifts, and that is the gift of clairsentience. That is a gift of psychic feeling. When people are high in clairsentience, they're very empathic, which makes them naturally compassionate. When they walk in the room, they automatically know how everyone is feeling. So they literally pick up the vibe. I remember years ago, I worked with a gentleman who was a high-level executive who was high in clairsentience. And he would go to meetings at the corporation feeling great, and then his CEO would dress down people in the meeting. And my client, who was very high in clairsentience and very empathic, would leave the meetings feeling physically ill. So one of the downsides of being high in clairsentience is that it's very easy for you to take on the energy and emotions of other people. And one of the things about clairsentient people is they need to be able to differentiate between what am I feeling and what are other people feeling. And I tell my people who are high in clairsentience when I'm coaching people about their soul guidance, if I put my hand on a hot stove, I know there's nothing wrong with my hand. It's the stove is hot, and if I remove my hand, I'll be okay. But the people who are high in clairsentience, it's very confusing for them because they get their own energy and emotions confused by the energy and emotions of others. Now, the fourth psychic gift, and the last one that I'm going to explain this morning, is the gift of clairvoyance. When you're clairvoyant, you receive information in the form of visions, like a picture or symbol, but it's actually visual. You'll see things in the mind's eye. Now, this can be a very helpful gift when you're literally a visionary leader, when you want to see where your company is going, and you'll get a vision of this is where our office needs to be. This is the kind of work that we need to be doing. One of the downsides of this clear vision is that it's frequently helpful, believe it or not, to create two pictures, because sometimes people are high in clear vision, they get stuck on their picture. It needs to look a certain way, and they get very stuck on their particular vision. But by having two pictures, then they realize, it could work this way and it could also work that way. So, for example, when people are high in clear vision and they lose their job, a lot of times they have a hard time because they see themselves in what they used to be doing, but they have a hard time envisioning what they could be doing. So those are the four different kinds of gifts.
That's very interesting. So would you say that gifts shape our personalities and our character and also guide our interests?
Absolutely. Because what this is, in my opinion, having done this for 26 years, is this is literally your soul guidance. You have an ego. And for a lot of us, we've developed a very elaborate idea of who we are, who we present to the world. And especially if you're in corporate life, to have a well-developed persona that is likable, that is inspiring to other people is actually important. But when you're talking about your intuition, this is your soul speaking to you. And I like to point out to my clients, you are a soul. You may be a CEO who makes millions of dollars every year, and that's what you do, but it's not who you are. You are a soul. And when you listen to your soul, everything works with synchronicity. Your life is easier, whether it's your personal life or your professional life. And I'm always pointing out to my clients that when you listen to your soul, you only have to be tapped on the shoulder. When you constantly suppress the wisdom and intelligence of your divine soul, problems build up. You go into addictions. You're basically knowing you need to move in one direction and ignoring that soul guidance. So the sooner that you can listen to the soul And the more time that you spend listening, your life works much more efficiently. And one way that you can listen at the soul level is simply by taking time on a daily basis to be quiet. What does that look like? For some people, it may be formal meditation. For others, it may be spending time in nature where you're walking in quiet. Or even something as simple as taking a shower or driving. But it's those times when there's basically no input. You're not reading the news. You're not devouring social media on the internet. You're not trying to figure out the political situation. You're quiet because it is in silence that your soul speaks.
So, when we come to opening businesses, running businesses, in some respect, it's all about analysis and all about data and all about testing. And so what do you say to folks that say to you, yes, I can hear that, but how can I test that if it's right?
It's funny because I have quite a number of clients who come to me exclusively for business decisions. Who do I hire? Who do I fire? Do I buy this business or that business? When do I need to give up? So I was Phi Beta Kappa at Brown. I have a high degree of education. I have a great respect for traditional education. But once you realize that your soul can access information beyond numbers and so on, then the more that you listen to your soul, the more that you can be led to that which is going to be for your highest good and for the highest good of everyone that you lead. I'm very practical myself. I have no debt. I have investments at Morgan Stanley. I have an accountant. I have bookkeepers. I do all the left brain things. Again, every penny is in complete and total order. And I think that having your finances in order is very important because when your finances are in order, then you have the time and the space to listen to your soul guidance about where do I need to be going? Where do I need to devote my time and energy? Where do I need to lead people to at this time? What are the messages that the people who work for me really need to hear from me now? If something's not working, why is it not working? Is it time to go in a different direction, or do we need to keep putting more time and resources into that?
So, a part of running a business is also teamwork. And often happens that what you as a leader see the direction that you should take your team, the team might not be on board with it. And especially if you use the intuition, how would you communicate that to your team that basically this is what your intuition is telling you that is the right direction for all of you to take?
Well, I think a lot of leadership is about inspiration. A, and B, it's about literally giving people a vision. Because if you can't show people a picture of where you want them to go, they literally don't know where to go. So when you present a picture that is achievable and inspiring to other people, then they can fulfill that. Another aspect of leadership is what I spoke about before with the gift of clairsentience, which is the gift of being able to empathize and to communicate compassionately with people so that you're not speaking down to them, that you're working with them. And when you're able to tune into how other people feel, then you can literally communicate in a way that addresses where people are actually at in this moment and lead them to where you want to be. So, for example, if your employees are feeling doubtful or questioning, or they're disorganized or discouraged, or they're unhappy with their working conditions, if you are able to tune in to how they're actually feeling, then you can address the needs and wants that they have so that they can be willing to follow you.
So what you're saying to us, you can use that intuition to basically understand better their position.
Absolutely. It's both about literally getting the big picture about where are we going, how can I present a vision that other people can get behind, but it's also about the details. Joe doesn't get along with Sally, and Sally doesn't like Harry. And then everybody's fighting in this department, and because they're all fighting, nothing's getting done. Well, using your clairsentience, you're going to pick up on that energy, you're going to pick up on that conflict, and by using your clairaudience, you'll know how to speak to everyone in ways that can help resolve the conflicts.
So to summarize for our listeners, would you say that everything that you start to create, you start with intuition and then you move to actionable steps that are more at the cerebral level?
I use my intuition for everything, literally. I always joke about how I do psychic shopping. It's like, I need to go buy that right now, and then you go and it's like 40% off. And I'm currently finishing my 10th book. I use my soul guidance to determine what to write about. What do people need to hear right now? So to be in business for a long period of time, and I've had my own business for 26 years, the only thing that is constant is change. And my business right now looks very different than it did when I started 26 years ago. So when you're using your soul guidance, you're able to stay with current vibration. You know what people are willing to pay for now. Again, I work differently with people than I used to. The speed at which everyone works and the speed at which people expect results is very, very, very fast now. I used to spend time when I had new clients talking to them and sort of listening and developing, whereas now people want to go right into solutions. Help me now. Give me the answer now. So when you're using your soul guidance, you're going to be more in tune with the flow of nature and with the speed at which things are actually happening now. You probably know the statistic now that the average attention span is less than a goldfish. So if you're not able to capture people's attention, whether it be your employee or your customer, very, very quickly, then you've lost them. And if you're stuck in analysis by paralysis or paralysis by analysis, trying to figure out, what happened in the past, you're not in current vibration, and it's going to be harder for you to maintain your market share, to build your market share, and to communicate with your employees who may be younger than you. I actually happen to be 60 years old, and a lot of my clients are people who are way younger. When I go to Google Analytics, and I think part of it is that I'm able to stay in current vibration. I let go of the past. When I see that something needs to be changed, I change it immediately. And this is the flexibility that's required to be in business long term.
So to stay in a current vibration, you have to have a flexibility and agility and not to sort of be stuck in the past.
Absolutely. And we can all learn from the past. That's always helpful. But you really do want to tune in. What do my customers need right now? What product or service can I provide right now that they need and want? And how do I communicate with my employees now in a way that they will understand and can get behind me? What compelling visions can I create that show them the future so it doesn't look like I'm doing business like I did in the 80s or the 90s, right? You've got to be in the now.
And for the folks that might kind of say, well, Catherine, how do I know that I'm not coming from my ego mind and I'm really asking that question and getting the right answers? What would you say to them? Like, how do you test, if the questions that you're asking are right and really keeping you in a good space to provide good service?
That's a great question. If you're stuck in depression or anxiety, then you're coming from your ego. When you're listening to your soul, it's going to feel right. When you're listening from your soul, an inspiration is going to come through you and move through you. You're going to feel grounded, strong, secure, and certain. Does that make sense? So if I'm feeling frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and emotional, I'm totally in my ego. When I know what to do and how to do it and where to go, then I know that I'm in my soul guidance.
And the rate of change nowadays is so fast, as you mentioned. Everything changes pretty quickly. How do you know and how do you pace yourself to move along with that fast rate of change?
That's another great question, Biana. I think it's really important that you slow down in order to speed up. So what do I mean by that? I think it's really important that everybody create quiet time during the day, which is not scheduled. Again, I'm 60 years old. I have 5 times more energy than a lot of my clients who are half my age. And part of it is that I'm actually not stressed. So this is a learning. How do you learn not to be stressed? You slow down in order to speed up. So a simple way, and this is a really great suggestion, if you look at your schedule and feel overwhelmed and panicked, then you're doing too much. And people often ask me, how do you do so much? I'm working on my 10th book. I run a radio show. I run a business. I'm not stressed. I have a great social life and friends. Well, I literally create space in my day when there's quiet time, when nobody's calling, when I'm not beholden to anyone else. So a lot of times I do this first thing in the morning. I begin every day with prayer, meditation, and breath work. So I start my day in a real high vibratory state so that I can take that peace and centeredness with me wherever I go. And I'm able to respond. The word responsibility literally means the ability to respond. And a lot of people have very long to-do lists, but they're not able to respond. So if you're finding yourself overwhelmed with responsibility, you're not able to respond. And part of the way you do that is by taking things out of your schedule and creating time literally just for quiet. So what I find is that women need a lot of what I call puttering time, especially in your home where you're in your nest, basically. So you're in your home, you're puttering around, maybe you're fluffing the pillows or walking your dog. One of my favorite things to do is lie in my hammock and stare up at the sky. And someone else may think, well, you're not doing anything. Well, I'm making all the things that I do possible by creating that space in my life.
So spend time with yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And when you spend that quiet time for yourself, then your soul guidance can drop in. Then you'll know what you need to know, when you need to know it, and you receive clarity in your mind. And that clarity allows you to be a better leader and more successful in your business.
We talked a lot about soul. What is your definition of a soul?
It is who you really are. It is the eternal, timeless part of you. Your soul is who you are before you were born, after you will die. You feel your soul every day. I'm 60 years old. I feel full of energy and inspiration every moment of my day. And it's because I'm very much in touch with my soul. So again, it's the timeless part of you. It's why somebody who's 80 years old can feel as youthful as a 20-year-old, and it can be as excited about life as a 20-year-old. So it's the part of you that really doesn't change.
And if you're confused how to access that part of you, how would you go about it?
I would, again, spend quiet time, meditate. I grew up in the Christian tradition. I go to church. I pray. I have tremendous respect for religious institutions of all kinds because they help people to get to know themselves as a soul. And when you know that you're a soul, you have a tremendous amount of courage because you know that you were born for a soul purpose. You realize that your soul is actually, in fact, indestructible. So when you realize that your soul is indestructible, literally bulletproof, and that you were born for a soul purpose, this is a true visionary leader because you're on purpose, you're centered, you're grounded, you know who you are, and you know where you're going.
And just to sort of like put it out there, you don't have to have millions of followers on Twitter to be a leader.
You know, having a lot of following in social media, that's sort of a new definition, that's come about, since the creation really of the social media. Socrates was a leader. Martin Luther King was a leader, and they had no social media, right? A mother can be a leader. A father can be a leader. Who you are matters. The energy you bring to every situation matters. So when you're a teacher, the energy that you share with your students is part of how you connect with your students so they actually learn the information. And again, a leader can be, a solopreneur who creates. A leader can be someone who leads a publicly held corporation. So I happen to love Twitter. Part of what I love about Twitter is the instant gratification of communicating with thousands of people all over the world. But that's a new definition.
And intuition can help you become a better leader.
Absolutely. When you're in your soul purpose, you cannot fail. And when you listen to your intuition, you get more in touch with who you really are and what you're really here to do. And your work becomes easier and more inspired.
Any final thoughts?
I would just say thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And if you want to know more, please read my book, Unlimited Intuition Now, which is available on Amazon, and you can listen to the audiobook because most of my books are available as audiobooks.
And how can people contact you?
CatherineCarrigan.com is my main website. And while you're there, you can sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. You can watch the videos of my radio show, a natural healing show for UK Health Radio on YouTube, because I create videos of all my radio shows. So you can learn all about how you can heal yourself naturally. Because when you feel great, it's easier to be a leader. When you're sick and tired, it's hard to lead anybody, including yourself.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Catherine, for being a guest.
Thanks so much, Biana, and thank you everybody out there for listening.
Our very special guest was Catherine Carrigan, a medical intuitive healer and the president of Unlimited Energy, Inc. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Leadership with Biana Kovic Show. Remember that you're all leaders in your own rights, and the impact that you're meant to achieve starts with small acts of kindness, curiosity, and generosity. Please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you again, and until next time.